Are we live? I think so. What's up, everybody? I'm assuming if you are watching this right now, you're probably watching on the re-upload. As always, I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys who do that. Be sure to leave a comment down below in the comment section. Say what's up. See if you have any questions. Maybe you missed today's live stream, but you might have a question that I might get around to next time. So anyways, leave a comment. I'll give it just a minute. Let a couple people jump in here. We haven't been doing these as often as we used to, kind of getting back into the hang of doing the live streams on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. We should be back here most Tuesdays. Luke is in here. Little Warbird's in here. What's up, YouTube? Good to see y'all in here. You got in here really fast, considerably faster than I thought. You know, we have a lot of people who just followed, what do they call it here, subscribed on YouTube because of Officer Tatum. I owe a great deal of gratitude to Officer Tatum. He shouted me out like crazy on his YouTube. It got like I think over a 250,000 views last time I checked. His subscribers and fans and followers have just been absolutely fantastic. I don't know if any of you all in here followed me or found me from Officer Tatum, but absolute blessing you guys have been. So massive appreciation. Which video did he shout you out in? I forget the exact name of it. It was put out last week, titled something about transgender. He showed my Instagram reel I posted that was about I believe it was the young women. I think it was the case out of that high school where the young girls two young women were beaten up, very badly beaten up in the women's restroom by a guy who identified as a girl, which caused the faculty, staff, and other students to essentially just be forced, I guess, to let him walk directly into the girls' restroom where he proceeded to beat them up. We know this isn't an isolated incident either. We had the young woman who was viciously sodomized in Virginia. That's a heartbreaking situation. But Gabrielle is in here. Phoenix is in here. Good to see you guys. Lisa Crandall is in here as well. Good to see you guys. What's up? I wanted to talk a little bit about Kevin McCarthy. That's kind of the big political story. This is something that hasn't happened in 100 years. We haven't had something like this. The last time that the speaker was, had to go through this whole debacle was, ironically enough, in, 1923, exactly 100 years ago to the date, which is crazy. So Kevin McCarthy, I don't think Kevin McCarthy is going to end up the Speaker of the House. As every single round of voting goes on, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the votes for McCarthy. We'll talk about that a little later. I want to read some of these comments. We got DG says, you're back live on YouTube. Yes, sir, for the time being. As long as YouTube allows us to, I'm going to try and not say anything too offensive, too irritating. We won't get to talk about the vaccine on here because YouTube doesn't like that. If you want to hear my takes on the vaccine, if you want to hear that kind of stuff, you're going to have to go to the radio show every day. By the way, big news, radio show is 4 to 6 p.m. every single day now. We got an extra hour. I know a lot of people were wanting that, and the day finally came. We have another hour. Daniel says, good evening, Victor. Thank you, Daniel. Good to see you. SAXXIN1 says no to McCarthy. I agree. Says, I'm old enough to be your grandfather. I have more real-life experience. You want Jordan. McCarthy will throw away your future for his personal game. Jim is looking out for you. I'm inclined to agree. I think Jim Jordan, he's well-liked by the vast majority of hardcore conservatives. He's well-liked by, kind of the more middle of the road. He's not somebody that has a record of pissing people off unless he's pissing people off while fighting for the right causes. So I like Jordan. McCarthy is a no-go. McCarthy has done things good. We've shouted out McCarthy for getting things right in the past. It's just, in my opinion, too few and far between when it comes to McCarthy. He's best buddies with a lot of the swamp monster rhino establishment class. But here's the thing that's interesting, right? So because this hasn't happened in 100 years, this is high-level political theater that we just really don't get the opportunity to see very often. And I think that the people who have now come out against Kevin McCarthy, they've crossed the Rubicon, and they will never go back to Kevin McCarthy. I feel fairly confident, although it's still speculation, fairly confident that Kevin McCarthy will not be the Speaker of the House. I say that because these people are voting on a roll call vote, meaning Kevin McCarthy knows exactly who supported him and exactly who didn't. Every single time there were 3 votes cast or 3 votes taken in the House, every single time they took another vote, McCarthy lost support. And every single person who said, I'm not voting for McCarthy, McCarthy knows their name. So assuming that he was to win by some fluke, miracle, Kevin McCarthy actually ends up winning, he's going to make those people's lives living hell when it comes to Congress, right? They're not going to get the committees they want. They're not going to get their legislation passed. They're not going to get their pet projects. It's just not going to be good. They're not going to get funding for a lot of the stuff that they want. So going against Kevin McCarthy, it's like that old saying of, if you're going to swing at the king, you better not miss. Well, these people swung at the king, and it looks like they connected. It looks like they didn't miss. And I just can't imagine somebody who threw a shovel full of dirt on McCarthy. I just can't imagine them turning around and revoking that. I can't see that happening. So I feel fairly confident that unless, like, in a real plot twist, like, Democrats start voting for Kevin McCarthy, I just don't see it happening. I like Jordan. Yeah, I like Jim Jordan too. Gideon says, I really have no idea who it'll be. Nobody really does. Jim Jordan, his name's being thrown around. Steve Scalise is being thrown around. Representative Briggs is being thrown around. We'll have to see. DG says, unfortunately, I think you're delaying the inevitable. You're not good at wearing a muzzle. That's true. As far as YouTube, I think you're referring to YouTube. You say you listen to the radio show. You love to rant and rave. That I do, and it is probably delaying the inevitable. I would assume that at some point in time, I will say something that YouTube won't like. We got a lot of suspensions on YouTube. That's why we haven't done a live stream in a long time, but we're tail tucked between our legs. We're coming back. Greg Vogel says 100% support them standing up to McCarthy. He is the exact definition of the swamp. So here's my take on this Kevin McCarthy stuff. We already talked about, like, the political power play that's going on here, but on top of that, we're seeing a insurgency is probably the best word. We're seeing an insurgency within the GOP and some hardball politics that Republicans have been too afraid to do for a really long time. Imagine, like, they're playing poker and they're understanding they hold some pretty powerful cards. In the past, the GOP has been afraid to do that. We've had this mentality, especially like this perfect display with the Kevin McCarthy stuff. Everyone in the GOP knows Kevin McCarthy is not a hardcore conservative. He's not what the base wants. He's not what the people wants. Nobody really is enthusiastic about Kevin McCarthy, but we've always settled. The GOP has consistently, we've been too afraid to fight, and we keep settling every single time. And there's this idea that, well, Kevin McCarthy may not be perfect, but he's better than Hakeem Jeffries, and we don't want to gamble, we don't want to risk anything, we don't want to do any power plays, so we'll just settle with the thing we know we can have, and we'll go with Kevin McCarthy, the controlled opposition. We'll go with Kevin McCarthy, the guy who's still taking us in the wrong direction, but, well, he's doing it slower. So Kevin McCarthy is the safe choice. Kevin McCarthy is the establishment choice. We'll just go with Kevin McCarthy. And for the longest time, the GOP has clicked their heels, got in line, and they've done exactly that. Now we have this select few people on the Freedom Caucus who have got a big brass set, and they're standing there saying, you know what, screw it. The establishment is taking us in the same direction as the left. We're totally getting screwed over. We're getting raked over the coals. At this point in time, what do we have to lose? Let's play some hardball. We don't want Kevin McCarthy. We want someone that actually is going to stand up and fight for conservative values. Let's risk it all. Let's put it all on the line. Make the hard play. This is something Democrats have done for years, but now the Republicans are starting to finally understand that, and I like it. I'm cool with it. I'm not a big fan of Kevin McCarthy. I didn't anticipate this. I thought there was no way this was going to happen, but very cool, very interesting. Luke says he likes Jim Jordan. He's from your state. You're from Ohio? I think that's where Jim Jordan's from, right? I think he was a wrestling coach, maybe a wrestler and a wrestling coach from Ohio State. DG says, how about trying to live stream on Gitter? We've done that a little bit. Gitter's decent. I like Gitter a lot more than Truth Social. I like Gitter, frankly, a lot more than Rumble or any of those. YouTube is just, it's so much better. It's so much more streamlined and seamless, and it's easier to get people here, and way more people are on YouTube than are on Gitter. So YouTube is, as much as I hate it, YouTube is better. We'll be good boys and girls, and we won't piss off the YouTube overlords. I get enough of my ranting and raving out every day on the radio, so I think I can control my tongue for a little while every day. We'll see. More or less, Redneck Zeus says he's given up on alternative tech. Yeah, I kind of have too. I'm not going to lie. I tried pretty hard on Rumble. I tried a little bit on Gitter, and I like Gitter. I like it a lot. It's just not the same. Nice microphone. What's it called? Samson Q2U. Highly recommend it. Normally, right now I'm just using USB-C because it's quicker and easier. Normally I run at XLR, and it's pretty nice. I use this microphone on the radio sometimes. I use this when I pre-record, if I'm traveling, if I'm out of town, and I have to do the radio show on the road. This guy packs up. Super easy. Absolutely love it. Fantastic value. Like $70. You can get it cheaper sometimes, but... Can you explain to me why a Democrat can be nominated as Speaker of the House of the Republican majority? Because the Speaker of the House is determined on a 50+1 vote, right? 50% plus one. So you have to have 217.5, technically speaking, because there's 432 members of the House. So you have to have 217.5 votes in order to win, or that's exactly half. So you actually have to have 218 votes in the House. The reason that it always goes based on what party's in power is because people vote on party lines. They'll say, oh, all 218 Republicans, if that's all that there are, all 218 Republicans will vote for a Republican Speaker of the House. Technically speaking, you could have Republicans cross over. You could have Democrats cross over. Like right now, Democrats could vote for Kevin McCarthy. If the Democrats realized that, say, Jim Jordan was going to be the next Speaker of the House, they could, in theory, on one of these votes where the Republicans are still splintered, they could, in theory, suddenly all just pile behind Kevin McCarthy and push him over the top so that they could have like a lesser evil in their eyes. They could theoretically do that, but that's how you could end up with, or I guess Republicans who really wanted Kevin McCarthy could vote for Hakeem Jeffries. They could switch over, and technically speaking, you could have a Democrat Speaker of the House with a Republican House. It would be very weird. It'd be kind of odd, but it could happen. It could happen. Seeing how YouTube moderation sets standards selectively on Vic under a guise of policy enforcement reminds me of that time when Cartman was hall monitor. We got the South Park references. I'm not going to lie, I don't get that one. I've seen most South Park episodes, but I don't remember Cartman being a hall monitor. Roy Daniel, good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're well. How are you doing? Do you think the Fauci ouchie had something to do with Damar Hamlin suffering cardiac arrest? Luke, that's a good question. I understand why you're asking it. I'm trying to be as intellectually consistent and honest as I possibly can be. I'm trying not to politicize that one, at least not yet. Damar and his family are going through all of this. It's very raw. I can't imagine they're having to see the highlight reels of their brother, their son, their friend, their family dropping on the field of a cardiac arrest. We don't know the details. We don't know exactly what happened. The human body's not designed to be hit like that all the time. I'm not familiar. I'm not a doctor, so take this with a grain of salt. But I'm not super familiar with people getting hit in the head and then having heart attacks. That seems a little bit weird. Anomalies do happen. We don't know if he's even vaccinated. We don't know what it could possibly be. So as of right now, I'm trying to avoid making it political. You know my general sentiments when it comes to the Fauci ouchie. But as of right now, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait to talk about that. I'm going to wait to have anything strong to say, with regards to that. I think a lot of people are waking up, though, and they're realizing that at a certain point in time, there can only be so many coincidences in a row. At a certain point in time, you just stop believing it. I forgot. I don't have my water boy image to throw up there. Hello, Victor. What's up, Lori Matthews? Lori Matthews. I think I know that name. Do I know you? Sorry, that probably sounded really weird on the microphone. But yeah, Roy says that happened to a young high school football player here before the VACCINE. It does happen, and so I try to avoid, I always criticize the left every time there's like a shooting or an earthquake or a hurricane or a tornado or anything like that, any tragedy. I always criticize the left for the fact that they never let a tragedy go to waste. They don't let people mourn. They don't let the dust settle. They instantly, they latch on to stuff. They grab hold of things and they're like, yeah, we got to politicize the fire out of this. We have to use this to fit our narrative, politically speaking. So I criticize them for doing something. I'm going to avoid doing that exact same thing myself. I talk about that in my book, Conservative Prudence, by the way. If you haven't bought it, be sure to buy a copy of it. It's a pretty good read, in my opinion. Logical Jokester says, quite a bit of coincidence in a row, don't you think? Yeah, at a certain point in time, somebody who's intelligent might start to observe pattern recognition and think, hey, maybe, just maybe, I'm going to avoid doing what these people do. So, don't think so, but I'm glad to be a part of this channel. Thank you, Lori. I'm glad that you're a part of it as well. Hey, if you guys have not yet joined the Telegram group chat, be sure to do that. Maybe we can get somebody in, maybe somebody in the chat can drop the link to the Telegram. I think it's still a public Telegram, so anybody should be able to. I forget that it's like t.me/StatBoyVictor, something like that. Greg says, so you're not up to date. Y'all can't get me on the Fauci ouchie talk. I'm telling you, we're trying to be good boys and girls. We're trying to toe the line of the YouTube community guidelines. If you want to hear my thoughts on the Fauci ouchie and the subsequent 45 boosters, you got to tune into the radio show. You got to ask me while I'm on air, because I can't get into this. You're trying to lure me in to a conversation surrounding something I just simply I'm not permitted to talk about. Luke, thank you. I appreciate you, man. Luke drops in the chat. So if you want to join our Telegram group chat, click that link right there. Join it. We got a handful. Okay, so Gabriella is putting it in there as well. So definitely join the Telegram if you use it. We chit-chat quite a bit. I give updates, and if I'm going to do a live stream, I'll jump on there. Phoenix says, Vic, when it comes to politics these days, I hope you keep your fire, but as for me, it's all theater to me now. I remember when George Carlin said on politicians, it's one big club and we ain't in it. I get the sentiment. I understand. I do get it. It's definitely a pain, and it does seem like there's them and then there's us. But to me, every time I see that, it just furthers the fire in my gut, right? You said, I hope you keep your fire. For me, the more I see this stuff, the more it pisses me off, the more it irritates me, the more that goes on, the hotter the fire in my gut burns. I think, truthfully speaking, not to be weird here, but I think God Almighty put a fire in my gut that I just can't ignore. And so I'm in the political fight. The more that they come after me, the more stupid stuff they do, the more Republicans, are weak and ineffective, the more that it just riles me up, the more. I don't get why you can't say certain things. Because of the YouTube overlords, man. It's the YouTube. I just can't. I can't. I can say whatever I want on the radio, plus or minus, within the bounds of reason. I can't break FCC guidelines, but YouTube does have its limitations for sure. That's right, Victor. We don't want YouTube kicking you off. I know. I don't want to get kicked off by YouTube. Cheesecake says, bro, thank God there's still conservatives out there. I was beginning to think I was the only one. So Cheesecake, although I know I have the face of an infant child, I look very young. I'm actually 23. I'm out of my teen years. But keep fighting the good fight, man. There's a lot of young people out there. There's a lot of good, hardcore conservatives. Are we lagging? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I don't know about that. Hang on. Let me check something. We got to figure this out. YouTube just gave me some notification as if we're not streaming smoothly. That's a bunch of malarkey. Did you give up on TikTok? Yes, basically. I do have a TikTok account. I've been using an account that's titled Generation Frontline. That's a project I've been working on. Kind of did a soft launch, working on some stuff behind the scenes. Got to get some stuff figured out with the... you buffered for a second. The audio keeps... Okay. I wonder what's going on. So Phoenix says we're good now. Anyways, Generation Frontline is a project I'm working on, trying to get that all set up, trying to get everything good to go. To help reach the young generation, I noticed there's a massive hole in the GOP strategy, completely ignoring the youth vote. We desperately need the youth vote. If we don't get it, we're absolutely screwed. So Generation Frontline is going to try and fill that void. I've been using TikTok in that capacity, a new account, Generation Frontline. So if you'd like to see that, do that. Are you seeing my post? Yes? You had to fast forward to catch up. Susan is watching Victor. What? Susan is watching Victor. What? Confused. Sounds like it lagged for just a second. Are we better though? Are we better now? Hopefully we are. Y'all got to let me know if we're not doing good. Would you expect to see us in a rowdy red primary as we did 8 years ago? Possibly. I think that Trump will be the front runner no matter what. Maybe DeSantis runs, maybe he doesn't. Trump has had some goofy stuff lately. He had a very goofy take whenever it came to abortion as of recently, very, very goofy take on abortion, literally reiterated a Democrat talking point. He said, Republican pro-life people who push so hardly to have no exceptions, not even exceptions for rape, incest, or the life of the mother, they're the real reason that we lost the midterms. And I'm thinking, that isn't a straight up word for word from the mouth of Trump. That was a pro-choice talking point. That was a Democrat talking point. I agreed with a lot of what he said. I talked about this on the radio of how, part of the reason that the GOP didn't do very well was because the GOP failed to capitalize off of the Dobbs decision. The GOP failed to have good strategic, they had terrible strategies going and handling the abortion issue. They allowed the Democrats to completely control the narrative and frame the conversation. There were plenty of strategic errors made by the GOP when it came to the topic of abortion. But when you try and say that there are Republicans out there, pro-life individuals who say no exceptions for the life of the mother, that's an absolute lie. Trying to lump it in with rape and incest, which to me, the circumstances of your conception don't devalue your life. You're still a human being. You still deserve rights. You shouldn't be killed for the circumstances of your conception. But to throw in this idea that Republicans don't want to have an exception for the life of the mother, that's a massive lie. No, there's not one state in the entire country. Out of all 50 states in the whole country, there has not been one singular state implement a law that allows no exceptions for the life of the mother. What state out there, what human being in their right mind would ever say, oh no, it sounds like, you have an ectopic pregnancy, which is essentially synonymous with a miscarriage. You have an ectopic pregnancy? Nah, that's tough. You just have to die. Does that sound like something that would ever happen? No, of course not. That's a Democrat talking point, a pro-choice talking point. So I was very disappointed to hear Trump say that. That doesn't mean that I hate him. That doesn't mean I wouldn't vote for him. But I will hold his feet to the fire. If he says something that I think to be exceptionally stupid, I'm going to call him out on it. In the same way that I would hope you call me out if I say something exceptionally stupid, if I start regurgitating Democrat talking points, yeah, I want you guys to let me know. Somebody says, did you see Trump trading cards? Trump's on a goofy streak. That was kind of goofy, but he raised a lot of money, so I don't know. Trump is on a bit of a goofy streak. He's done some stuff I don't defend. Can Trump beat Biden? Well, he did it. I can't say that. Yes. I believe that there's good reason to believe that something that has happened in the past can once again happen. As for what happened in the past, will it happen again? Quite possibly. Regardless, that's not a word. Regardless of who the Republicans put forward, if we don't fix certain things that have happened in the past, if you understand what I'm saying, and I hope that you all do, if we don't fix certain things that happened in the past, it won't matter who the GOP nominates in 2024. Y'all understand what I'm trying to say? Ask me this on the radio. I can say it on the radio. Good night, Roy. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you were in here. Well, my friend, as somebody formerly from the left and a woman, I definitely acknowledge that all life is sacred. Ooh, here we go. However, if we must promote personal responsibility, you must let women who have been raped get abortions. Also, we're scrolling. Also, you can't let a woman die if the pregnancy is going to kill her. I mean, that's just common sense. Pro-life Republicans should be saying that. Yeah, so Ayla, I appreciate the comment. Every single pro-life, I'm fairly, I don't want to call myself prominent because that overstates my own importance, but I'm fairly prominent in the pro-life world, right? As far as being a pro-life advocate, I'm very well versed in what pro-life people are advocating for, very well versed in the debates and the argumentation and everything that surrounds the pro-life cause. No one in the pro-life movement is saying that a woman should have to die because of her pregnancy, right? For the perfect example would be an ectopic pregnancy. No one out there says, well, the woman just has to die. We just have to, nope, absolutely not. We cannot, do what people would call an abortion in that instance. We can't do that. We just have to let the mother die. That would be asinine. That would be absolutely ridiculous. As for, the circumstance of rape, again, it's less than 1% of all rapes. Not all rapes, of all abortions. If we agree on the 99%, I'd be a happy man. But it doesn't change the fact that that is a human being in the womb. A human being in the womb who has done, frankly, nothing wrong. I often give the example, if you are completely innocent, you're not, but let's assume you were completely innocent. You had never in your life done anything wrong. You literally like pure as the fresh fallen snow. You've never done anything bad. And your dad is the worst human being that ever existed. Like in all of human history, he's raped, killed, murdered, everything that's bad, he has done it. It would never be just or morally acceptable for you to be put to death for the crimes of your father. Just because you have a horrible, awful, evil dad doesn't mean that we carry out the punishment for his sins onto you. The innocent child inside of the womb has done absolutely nothing wrong. They shouldn't be put to death. It's insulting to me that there's so, and I'm not saying that you do this, but there's so many people who will say, well, those babies that are a product of rape, those babies that are a product of incest, they'd be better off dead. We should just kill them. We should just kill those babies. We talk about devaluing the life of a human being. There are people outside of the womb that are the product of rape, but the circumstances of their conception aren't grounds to kill them. That doesn't devalue them. To say that they would be better off dead is to tell all of the living, breathing, walking around, outside of the womb individuals. That would be the same as to tell them, well, you'd be better off dead. Your life has so little value because of the circumstances of your conception that we wish you were just simply dead. How disrespectful could that possibly? That blows my mind. Anyways, I think it was a great comment. I don't mean to get up on a soapbox, but let's see. Where are we at? I say 0 exceptions for abortion, except for the very rare, really, really rare instance where the mother is going to die and the child is going to die. Now, that's a very rare circumstance. Certainly would not allow for any late-term situations. Premature birth is always preferable to killing an innocent child. But that's the only exception that most hardcore pro-life people, like I'm hardcore pro-life, really, really hard. You won't find somebody more pro-life than me, generally speaking, unless they're like absolutely crazy and get off into the weeds. I am not okay with any exceptions to abortion except for the very rare medical atrocity, the horrible tragedy that is a situation where both mother and child would die. I don't know anyone who's further than I am on that situation. I don't know anyone who says that you just have to cause this poor woman to die unnecessarily. But as DG points out in the chat, 60 million babies have been killed. Since 1973, just since we've started tracking this, 63 million babies have been unjustly put to death. That's absolutely tragic. That's terrible. I can't even think about that. I mean, for reference, some of the greatest genocides in human history, not greatest, but greatest in volume, the greatest genocides in human history were 6 to 10 million. You look at like the USSR, if you want to include forced famine, you're talking, I think it was 30 million. We did 60. We killed 60 million innocent babies. I just can't, it just absolutely blows my mind. But anyways. It's a good conversation, though. I have a lot of videos about this up on my page. I don't want to make the whole live stream about this topic, but I'm happy to if we need to. But I do have a handful of conversations on that. Yeah, it's a terrible circumstance, Ayla. It's absolutely horrible, and call me hypocritical, but I would be okay with the death penalty for somebody who's undeniably proven to be a rapist. If somebody is a rapist and they force a woman into that circumstance, that situation, that's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. I'd be okay with putting them to death. I would absolutely be okay with that. They've committed a crime so heinous that they've forfeited their right to live. Afford them due process, afford them their day in court, prove it, beyond the shadow of a doubt, and then put them to death. If you have somebody who's done that to a woman, force them to be in a situation where they have to go through a pregnancy, and they have to, potentially raise the child. Obviously, they can put the child up for adoption. There's long waiting lists, 20-something couples per every child in the United States as of 2020. So there's a lot of people who would be more than happy to adopt that child. They don't technically have to raise it themselves, but they might choose to do that. But yeah, no. If somebody commits a rape against somebody, I'm okay with putting them to death. They're a terrible person, but the answer is still not to legalize infanticide. Redneck Zeus comments, he says, you can hold two positions at once. You can advocate for personal responsibility, and you can say that being conceived and raped does not permit a mother to kill her child. The two don't contradict each other. I couldn't agree with you more, Redneck Zeus. Luke says, Kevin McCarthy apparently already moved into the speaker's office because he thought he would be elected. I'm not sure if it's true, but I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, I saw that, I think Breitbart was also reporting that same story, that Kevin McCarthy already moved into the Speaker of the House office. Kind of embarrassing that he's going to have to go and move his stuff out. And listen, I could be wrong, right? I'm not like particularly overqualified to speak on whether or not Kevin McCarthy wins in the long run, but it's not looking like it. I don't know how. I think these people crossed the Rubicon. I think that they've you say crossing the Rubicon. They've gone so far they can't turn back. These people who have now gone against Kevin McCarthy, I just don't see how they can come back. They're not going to be in his good graces no matter what. They've already turned against him, and in the world of power struggles, it's not exactly something you forgive people for. You'd be an idiot for it. Hopefully Jim Jordan takes it home. I'm cool with that, man. You won't hear me complaining if Jim Jordan takes the cake. I'll be all for that. I don't think Democrats flip or walk out and McCarthy wins, but I hope not. You think they will? You think Democrats will flip? Hey, anything's possible. Literally anything is possible. Point being that either DJT will be the GOP nominee in 24, or if not, he will instead run as an independent, I expect, honestly. I wouldn't be shocked. Trump is a bit of a wild card. He's a bit of he's something. He's something. Phoenix comes in. We're about to end it, folks, by the way. We hit the half-hour mark. I'm probably going to skedoodle. But last comment here. Phoenix says, it's sad that intercourse has already lost its special value. Since the 1960s with birth control, followed by abortions in the 1970s, I know traditional values aren't dead yet, but they are sure scarce. Man, I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. People are just so willy-nilly. They've devalued everything special about what that is. And yeah, now, you got people just hooking up like crazy. I'm definitely very outspokenly against hookup culture. I think it's one of the most destructive and horrible things that's happened to the culture of the United States. But anyways, folks, we're at 30 minutes, right? We just crossed over 30 minutes and 30 seconds at the time of me finishing this sentence right there. That's 30 seconds. Anyways, Alan Matney says, man, you are about the best podcaster out there now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Technically, I don't really consider this to be a podcast. This is just a live stream, but I do podcast The Deep Dive with Victor Nieves, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of the other ones, all of those random little ones. We've got a couple, probably like 30 podcasts out now, so check those out if you haven't had the opportunity to do so just yet. But anyways, I'm going to go. You guys take care. God bless. Keep me in your prayers. Keep your country in your prayers. I'll see you all next Tuesday or every single day on the radio. I'm going to try and start putting out some long-form YouTube-oriented content soon, I promise, with the holidays and everything, and, hanging out with my girlfriend and the boys and going to the gym and working and all that stuff. YouTube content is a little bit hard to make, but I will. I'll get around to it within the next 9 months. Anyways, take care, guys. I'll see you all later. If I can find the button.